Dear friends, welcome to Infos. Welcome to another video from Infos. This video also discussing about pipes fitting and valves, part 4. In this video, we are discussing about design codes and standards. Welcome to this video. The manufacture and installation of pressure piping is tightly regulated by the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. In short form, it is ASME B31 code series such as B31.1 or B31.3. These codes have their basis in the ASME boiler and pressure vessel codes and are mandatorily applied in Canada and USA. Europe has an equivalent system of codes. Difference between codes and standards. Number one is design code. The codes define the rules and regulations deemed necessary for safe design and construction. For example, the piping codes address the following design requirements: allowable stresses and stress limits, allowable dead loads and load limit, allowable live loads and load limits, materials, minimum wall thickness, maximum deflection, seismic load and thermal expansion. So these are the design requirement for developing the codes and standards. One important information is that note that the piping codes do not include components such as fittings, valves, flanges and meters. Rather, they define the design requirements for these components by reference to industry standards. Design standards, let us look that one. The standards provide specific design criteria and rules for individual components or classes of components such as valves, flanges and fittings. Standards apply to both the dimensions and performance of system components. Dimensional standards provide configuration control parameters for components. The primary objective of dimensional standard is to ensure that similar components manufactured by different suppliers permit interchangeability. Pressure integrity standards provide uniform minimum performance criteria. The main objective is to ensure that the components designed and manufactured to the same standard will function in an equivalent manner. For example, all NPS 10, that is DN250 class 150 ASTM A105 flanges which are constructed in accordance with the ASME B16.5 pipe flanges and flanged fittings have a pressure temperature rating of 230 psi at 300 degree Fahrenheit. Pressure piping codes. The American Society of Mechanical Engineers ASME established the B31 pressure piping code committees to promote safety in pressure piping design and construction through published engineering criteria. The intent of ASME B31 codes is to set forth engineering requirements deemed necessary for safe design and construction of piping installation. However, the codes are not designed to replace competent engineering design or judgment. Most importantly, the codes do not approve the right or endorse any item of construction, proprietary devices or activity. The codes do not put a limit on conservatism, and conversely, the codes also allow for designs that are capable of more rigorous engineering analysis which justifies less conservative design. ASME B31 codes have the force of law in Canada and USA. Even if there is no legal requirement, the client and insurance underwriters may require compliance with the ASME code. At a minimum, good engineering practices should be followed that are described in codes. So, mechanical engineers and mechanical discipline personnel, I kindly request you to possibly just to read that ASME codes for your workplace requirement and design of pipes, and understand how the piping system is installed in your working place. If a facility is outside United States, there may be a set of international codes that are prescribed. Important information: the owner has overall responsibility for meeting compliance with the ASME B31 codes and standards for the design of piping installation. ASME code is not intended to apply to piping that has been placed in service. ASME pressure piping codes. The following list defines the ASME pressure piping codes used for the design, construction and inspection of pressurized piping system. The first one is B31.1 power piping. We are looking to various, not all, but some of the major ASME codes we are just to describing here. The number one is B31.1 power piping. ASME B31.1 code is typically used for the design and construction of power piping found in electric power generating station, industrial and industrial plant, geothermal heating system, and central and district heating and cooling system. The code covers external piping of power boilers and high temperature, high pressure water boilers in which steam or vapor is generated at a pressure of more than 15 psig and high temperature water is generated at a pressure exceeding 160 psig or temperature exceeding 250 degree Fahrenheit. B31.1 is intended to be applied piping for steam, water, oil, gas, air and other services, metallic and non-metallic piping, all pressures, all temperature above minus 29 degrees C. B31.1 does not apply to boiler, pressure vessel, heaters, and components covered by the ASME boiler and pressure vessel code. Not a boiler need pipe both internally and externally. The internal pipe would come under the rules of section 1 and external pipe would come under B31.1. Building, heating and distribution steam and condensate system designed for 15 psig or less. Hot water heating system designed for 13 psig or less. So both it is clearly mentioned that one which is intended to apply or does not apply. Important information available here. B31.1 is mandatory for piping that is attached directly to an ASME section 1 boiler up to the first isolation valve, or except in the case of multiple boiler installations where it is mandatory up to the second isolation valve. Another one is B31.3 process piping. ASME B31.3 code is typically used for the design and construction of pressure piping found in petroleum refineries, chemical, pharmaceutical, conductor and cryogenic plant and related processing plant and terminals, which is intended to be applied to piping for all fluid services, metallic and non-metallic piping, all pressures and all temperature. B31.3 does not apply to piping system designed for pressure at or above 0 but less than 15 psig, provided they meet certain other requirements including temperature range. Tubes and pipes internal to a heater enclosure. pressure vessels and certain other equipment and piping. Important information: compatibility of material with the service and hazards from instability of contained fluids are not within the scope of this ASME B31.3. The owner is responsible for designating when certain fluid services, that is category M toxic, high purity, high pressure, elevated temperature, or category D non-flammable, non-toxic fluid at low pressure and temperature are applicable to specific system, and for designating if a quality system is to be imposed. Another design code is ASME code is B31.4, pipeline transportation systems and liquid hydrocarbon. This code is typically used for the pipelines that transport liquid between plants, terminals and pumping, regulating and metering station. The liquid include crude oil, condensate, natural gasoline, liquefied petroleum gas, carbon dioxide, liquid alcohol, liquid anhydrous ammonia and liquid petroleum product between the producer's lease facilities, tank farm, natural gas processing plant, refineries, stations, ammonia plant, terminals like marine, rail and truck and other delivery and receiving point, which is intended to be applied to piping transportation, piping transporting fluids such as crude oil, condensate, natural gasoline, natural gas liquid, liquefied petroleum gas, carbon dioxide, liquid alcohol, liquid anhydrous ammonia and liquid petroleum product. Piping at pipeline terminals like marine, rail and truck, tank farm, pump stations, pressure reducing station and metering station including scraper trap, strainers and loops. All pressures, temperatures range from 29 to -29 to 121 degrees C inclusive. B31.4 does not apply to auxiliary piping, example water, air or steam, pressure vessel, heat exchanger and similar equipment, piping designed at or below 1 bar or 15 psi G at any temperature, piping above 1 bar and if temperature is below 20 degree Fahrenheit, -20 degree Fahrenheit or above 250 Fahrenheit. Piping, casing or tubing used in oil well and related assemblies, petroleum refinery piping with certain exceptions, gas transmission and distribution line. Another important ASME code is B31.5, which is mentioning about refrigeration piping and heat transfer components. ASME B31.5 code is typically used for the design and construction of pressure piping contain refrigerants or secondary coolants, which is intended to be applied to refrigerant and secondary coolant piping, heat transfer components such as condensers and evaporators, all pressures, temperature at and above 320 degree Fahrenheit. B31.5 does not apply to the following: any self-contained or unit system subject to the requirements of underwriters, laboratories or another nationally recognized testing laboratory, water piping, piping designed for external or internal gauge pressure not exceeding 15 psi regardless the size, pressure vessel and compressor or pump. Another is B31.8 gas transmission and distribution piping system. This code is typically used for gas transportation piping between sources and terminals. It includes gas pipeline, gas compressor station, gas metering and regulation station, gas mains and service lines up to the outlet of customer's meter set assembly. B31.8 is intended to be applied to onshore and offshore pipeline facilities used for the transport of gas, gathering pipeline, gas distribution system, piping at compressor, regulating and metering station. All pressure, temperatures range from -29 to 232 degrees C inclusive, which does not apply to the following: pressure vessels covered by the BPVC, Piping with metal temperature is above 400 degree Fahrenheit or below minus 30 degree C or 20 degree Fahrenheit. Piping beyond the outlet of customer's meter assembly, wellhead assembly, design and manufacture of heat exchangers or to Tubular Exchanger Manufacturers Association TEMA standard. Thanks for watching this video. Some more design codes and standards are pending. Could not cover in this video. Hopefully in coming video we will include that one, and some more other necessary relevant informations are need to be included in the this pipes, fittings and valves. Thanks for watching this video. Have a good day.